So I often use the analogy that AI is like the word transportation. I mean, if transportation can refer to bicycles or rockets or self-driving cars or gas guzzling trucks, like they're all different modes of transportation, serve different purposes, different cost benefit analyses. And you would never have a politician say, we need more transportation to mitigate climate change. You would be like, what kind of transport?
Yeah. I mean,
Like, what
maybe
are you
Trump would,
talking
right?
about? Well, yeah. We need more transportation to stimulate the economy. I mean, maybe in that case, it's like, it's just, yeah, like there is a vagueness around the AI discussion that is really unproductive. And I think a lot of that leads to confusion where people think AI equals one thing and AI equals progress. And so we should just have all of it. But actually, if we were to use the transportation analogy, like having more bicycles, having more public transit sounds great. But if someone were actually referring to just like using rockets to commute from, Dublin to London, and we were like, everyone should get a rocket now, like that's going to bring us more progress, you would be like, what are you talking about? And that's effectively what these companies are doing with artificial general intelligence.
When you're giving people tools for free, with regards to generative AI, to just generate stupid images of nonsense. That's kind of what we're doing, right? I presume you would take that analogy to that level. It's like saying, let's use a rocket to get from Dublin to London to Paris.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not fit for the task. And the extraordinary amount of environmental costs for flying that rocket when you could have flown a much more efficient plane to do the same thing is like, what are you doing? And that's one of the things that people don't really realize about artificial or about generative AI is that the resource consumption required to develop these models and also use these models is quite extraordinary. And oftentimes people are using them for tasks that could be achieved with highly efficient, different AI techniques. But because we use this sweeping term AI to mean anything, then people just think, oh, yeah, right. I'm just going to use ChatGPT for my one-stop shop solution for anything AI related.
So right now, data centers globally, I think, are about 3.5% of CO2 emissions. I think the data centers for AI are a tiny fraction of that, but obviously they're growing at an extraordinary pace.
Yeah.
Are there any numbers out there with regards to projected CO2 emissions of data centers globally 5, 10, 15 years from now? Or is that all still, it's so recent that we can't really speculate about the numbers involved?
There are numbers around the energy consumption, which you could then use to kind of try and project carbon emissions. So there was a McKinsey report that recently projected that based on the current pace of data center and supercomputer expansion for the development and deployment of AI technologies, we would need to add around half to 1.2 times the amount of energy consumed in the UK annually to the global grid in the next 5 years.
Wow.
Yeah. And most of that will be serviced by fossil fuels. This is something that Sam Altman actually even said in front of the Senate a couple weeks ago. He said it will most probably be natural gas. So he actually picked the nicest fossil fuel, but we're already seeing reports of coal plants having their lives extended. They were meant to be retired, but they're no longer being retired explicitly to power data center development. We're seeing reports of Elon Musk's XAI, the giant supercomputer that he built called Colossus in Memphis, Tennessee. It is being powered with around 35 unlicensed methane gas turbines that are pumping thousands of toxic air pollutants into the air, into that community. So this data center acceleration is not just accelerating the climate crisis, it also is accelerating the public health crisis of people's ability to access clean air as well as clean water. So one of the aspects that's really under talked about with this kind of AI development, the OpenAI's version of AI development, is that these data centers need fresh water to cool, because if they used any other kind of water, it would corrode the equipment, it would lead to bacterial growth. And so most often these data centers actually use public drinking water, because when they enter into a community, that is the infrastructure that's already laid to deliver the fresh water to companies, to businesses, to residents. And so one of the things that I highlight in my book is there are many, many communities that are already they do not have sufficient drinking water even for people. And I went to Montevideo, Uruguay, to speak with people about a historic level of drought that they were experiencing, where the Montevideo government literally did not have enough water to put into the public drinking water supply. So they were mixing toxic wastewater in just so people could have something come out of their taps when they opened them. And for people that were too poor to buy bottled water, that is what they were drinking. And women were having higher rates of miscarriages. Elderly were having an exacerbation or an inflammation of their chronic diseases. And in the middle of that, Google proposed to build a data center that would use more drinking water.